To get started on our Starry Night pumpkin, we need our white paper and a black crayon to draw. If you'd like to do it in pencil first, you may, and then go over your lines with a black crayon. We're going to start by putting a line to represent grass at the bottom. So we're going to do sort of a, jagged, sharp line to show the grass at the bottom of our paper. So some might be a little taller, a little shorter, kind of creating a zigzag across the bottom. Once we have our zigzag line for grass, we can start creating our pumpkins. And we can choose what type of pumpkin we want. Do we want a tall, thin pumpkin, a short and round pumpkin? You may have room for 2 or 3 pumpkins on your paper, depending on the size and how big you draw. So you can start creating that. Because the grass is overlapping them, we're not going to see the very bottom of our pumpkin. So I'm going to go ahead and start by making an oval shape to be part of my pumpkin. I'm going to come to the side and come off of that oval shape and come down to make another part of my pumpkin. And I'm going to do one more. So that's one side, and now I'm going to do the other side. So I'm going to come down and round it down and do one more over here. And if I go off the page, that's okay. Now I can put in my stem. So I'm going to just do a straight, somewhat straight line up, give it a top, and come down the other side. So now I have one pumpkin, and I might go ahead and just do 2 on mine. My next pumpkin, I'm gonna do sort of a taller pumpkin. So I'm gonna come up like this, but I still wanna allow room for a stem, even if it goes off the page a little bit. And then I'll do one here, coming down, and one more on the other side, and it's gonna overlap behind that first pumpkin. Now I can put in that stem, and it might be sort of a curving stem. You know, all pumpkin stems are a little bit different, very organic and curvy. And I can also add some vines coming off of my pumpkins. So I might come to the base of the stem and start to do a curling line. I'm gonna loop back around and leave a little space and pick up. So that's one line of that swirl there. Now I can come to do the second line, coming around below like that. I can do the same over here. Maybe going off the page. And maybe I have one over here, or even a leaf. What if I just do a leaf on this one, kind of coming off? Okay, so that might be all I do for that section. All right, I can add in a little bit. I can trace over my lines if I want them to be darker, bolder, you know, bolder black. And then I can also add some lines to represent some shading on our pumpkins. So right now I'm just kind of darkening some of these lines that are a little lighter. And maybe that grass line as well. So now I might take my black crayon and just kind of lightly put in some lighter gray lines on each section of my pumpkin. On my stem, I'm gonna give it a little top there. Maybe I'll add a leaf here. I don't have any leaves over on this side. Maybe I'll add a leaf right here. Put a little bit on there, on the stem itself, or the vine. I'll do the same over here. And then just a few little extra lines at the bottom in the grass to show that texture. All right, now I'm ready to start doing color. So I'm gonna look for a variety of oranges, yellows. I have a few shades of orange in my crayon box. And we really want, because we're creating this pumpkin to have a look inspired by Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night, I really want to do small marks with my crayons to represent those small little brush strokes. So I'll choose maybe a darker orange for this first one. And instead of coloring it in, I'm making little marks. And I kind of go back and forth a little bit so it's not a perfect little line. And you can go directly over that gray that we put down. You might even want to combine more than one shade of orange as you're working. And maybe I take and add a lighter orange in there too. I can do this pumpkin, perhaps a darker orange. Maybe this one has more yellows and oranges in it. I can add some greens to my grass. I can do greens and browns in my vines and stems. I'm gonna work on that, and then we will meet back up to discuss the sky. So I used oranges and yellows and even a little bit of brown in my pumpkin, keeping with those very short little marks to represent those Van Gogh inspired brush strokes. I did some sort of scratchy layers of dark green and light green, and I even put a little bit of brown and green into my stems, vines, and leaves. So now I'm ready to go ahead and do the stars in the sky. So I'm gonna start with a yellow, and I'm gonna try to press hard and do sort of a circular shape. Does not have to be perfect, kind of like a scribbly circle. Maybe one more over here. I don't have a ton of room in my background for them, so that's okay. Now I'm gonna go ahead and use an orange, and I wanna do those short little lines, sort of circling around those stars. Okay, now I'm ready to start putting in some blues, whites, and purples to represent the swirls and movement in the sky. So that might be going around those stars. I can create that, but I can also create sort of more of a swirl. So I can come out and around. So I'm gonna, again, follow those stars. Right now I'm just working with one shade of blue, but I can come back and add another. Kind of movement in the sky. So those blues are kind of moving. We can fill in the spaces we have. Maybe follow the lines of the vines. Follow those stars again. Oh, I got a little space over here. And I can use a different shade of blue to put in there. I can use my white, which seems odd because you can't really see it, but you will maybe be able to see it when we add our watercolors if we go dark enough. So you don't have to worry as much about where exactly the white is going since it's hard to see. Just trying to keep those short lines here and there. Filling in with these blues. You could do purples. And then next up, we're about to move on to our paint. So just gonna finish these up. Okay, so I've done with the crayon. I'm gonna open up my paints, and then within each section, we will want to paint according to the colors that are in that section. So for this pumpkin, I could go more with an orange, and maybe this pumpkin I go more with a yellow, or you can flip-flop it. So I'm gonna swirl my brush, wet my brush, get some of that watercolor on it. And then I can start to fill in that pumpkin. So just putting that on there. Now I could even put some yellow in some spots and some orange in some spots and have them kind of blend into each other. I could even add a little bit of red if I wanted to get a darker color on there. Trying to get down near the grass. Maybe I put that yellow in here. Maybe I dip in and get a little bit of red. Go back and get some orange. Just sort of fill that in. Now I can paint my pumpkins, oranges and yellows, my stem brown, my vines green, my grass green. I can paint the sky either blue or purple or a combination of both. I'm gonna go ahead and work on painting, and then I'll show you what I finish with. Here is my completed Starry Night pumpkins. There are, we've played around with line, using line direction to show movement in the sky, and those little lines to represent those Van Gogh inspired brush strokes, and adding that paint to kind of fill in all those spaces to complete our artwork.